Maybe upset.
Hey Minnie, what time is it?
It's 11:05.
Actually, I think it's podcast time.
It's podcast time. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Ancient Critics Podcast. In this episode, we are talking about All Quiet on the Western Front, a book that all of us were supposed to read. I'm pretty sure all of us did read it.
No, we did read.
We did read it.
We did.
We all read it.
Yeah.
A little bit of warning: there is going to be some spoilers about the book in this podcast.
Paul dies.
If you've been trying,
He dies at the end.
Planning to read it.
if you've been planning to read it, don't listen to this podcast because
Cover your ears and close your eyes.
Or just listen anyways, because it's kind of obvious.
yeah.
He
Okay.
dies.
So let's do some background info on the author. So his name was Eric Maria Remarque. Ada, can you tell us a little bit about him?
So, actually, he wrote this book because he was in the war, right?
He was in World
Yes.
War I.
He was
yes.
in World War One, and so he created this character. It's not based off himself, but it's kind
No.
of like in general. And
I think he interviewed a couple of
Mhm.
soldiers that were in World War One, and kind of it's like an accumulation of all of
Yeah.
their stories.
So the book was actually originally published in German, and now it's translated into English. But the German title actually means "Nothing New in the West."
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
So, which title do you think fits the book more? All Quiet on the Western Front or Nothing New in the West?
Nothing.
Dang,
in
that's
the
kind of
West.
hard.
Yeah,
Because,
it
like,
is.
the very last chapter, it makes sense why it's, like, all quiet in the Western Front.
Yeah.
Because the war's like finally over, no one's really shooting, but then he still dies at the very end.
Yeah.
Because it's quiet.
Nothing.
I like
Everyone's
the
dead.
English
All his friends are dead.
Yeah.
They're all
I think
dead. So it's
the
all
English
quiet.
translation
Yeah.
is cool.
But Nothing New in the West probably makes sense for the German
Yeah.
book. Like I don't know the language or anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe it just could mean, like, there's nothing new because it's always constantly, like, war.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I get
also
that
like
Or
too.
there-
translation.
Or there's like nothing. There's no more new sounds. There's nothing.
Well, it's also saying
No
in the
more
West.
There's nothing
Yeah.
new, because everyone's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing's going on there.
Nothing's new. Yeah, from everyone being dead, and also because it's war and they just have to do the exact same thing over and over again. Yeah.
So in the 1929 translation, some of the paragraphs lost their impact in the translations, and some paragraphs were cut entirely from the book.
Mm-hmm.
This was mostly fixed in 1993 for the English translation. So do you guys think that, like, by reading it in English, we might have missed something?
I think.
Or do you
yeah.
think it's mostly the same?
I think the author put it in the book for a reason. So I think if we didn't get to read it, then it was probably meant to be in the book. So it's like, I kind of wish I knew German so I could read the actual like original, because that would be cool to see like the difference. Because also the translation,
Yeah.
there could be some stuff
And
lost
probably
in
a lot of, like,
translation.
figurative language
Yeah.
that we don't understand.
Yeah.
And it's hard to translate into English.
Yeah.
Just like cultural things that only like Germans would probably get.
And actually, the book has been adapted into several films. Do you guys usually prefer war movies or war books, and why?
I haven't really watched. I've watched a couple of war movies. I think it's you really have to prepare yourself to watch the movies because a lot of times they will add like not
It's
all of the
graphic.
violence. It's very graphic, yeah. Like they'll add a lot of the violence in, and I think I've seen part of the newer movie, All Quiet on the Western Front, and it was like pretty graphic.
Mm-hmm.
So
probably like the movie portrays the horrors
Horrors.
of the war better.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's also like the sound effects and everything as well.
And I mean, there's also some things that you just like don't want to imagine in your
Yeah.
mind when you're reading the book.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because
So I think, yeah,
It just shows it more like. Yeah, I don't
In
know. It's just
detail.
different actually reading it and imagining it. Because sometimes while imagining it, you just kind of cut some of the more gruesome
Yeah.
parts out. Whenever, but like in the movie, it's just like all there.
it's all there and you have to watch it. I mean,
Yeah.
It's part of the, yeah. Do you want to read the summary for the book for us, Minnie?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the main character's name is Paul Bomber.
Yeah.
And his friends joined the war, and they were encouraged by their teacher, but then they realized over the years that war is not as filled with glory.
Mhm. So essentially, the book is just going over from. Actually, it's not really from Paul's perspective, is it? No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
is.
is.
It is.
It is, but it talks a lot about, it's from his perspective, but I
But
think
it's
it's also the
also-
stories of other people,
Oh.
Yeah.
but
okay.
still from his perspective. Yeah.
And so it's just like how he's going through the war
Yeah.
with his friends and
Mhm.
alone. Cause, yeah.
Yeah. So, who is your guys' favorite character?
I like. Oh shoot, I kind of forgot his name. What's it? Himmelstas.
Himmelstas? The
Was it
the,
the guy?
the guy.
Is it the? Oh wait,
the
no.
general guy?
No, 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 no.
I was like, that guy's not. That's
No,
like my
no,
least
no.
favorite character.
Wait. Okay, so that's your least favorite character. Wait, I forgot his-
Kaczynski?
Was it?
Yeah.
No, the resourceful one.
Yeah,
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 I like that one.
Cat,
He's
too.
funny. That's what I would say is my favorite too.
Yeah.
We're so generic, guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
He's
but
funny.
Himmelstas had character development at the end,
true.
where he was
Yeah.
like, after he had to be in the war himself, he was like, "Sorry, guys."
Yeah.
Sorry.
Still, I mean, he was mean in the like beginning of the book. So
Yeah, it was funny.
when they got revenge on him, it was hilarious because they like, what did they do again?
They used like some. Was it like
A sheet or
bedding
something.
or
They
something?
wrapped him up
What
in
was
it or
it?
And
something.
then they like beat him
Yeah.
up.
beat him up.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Imagine doing that just in a war.
They like waited him to come out of the bar or something.
You
Yeah.
don't even have time to do these kind of stuff during war.
I feel like they almost would have like, yeah, seriously. I kind of get what you're saying. Like, how do they have time to do this? Because they're literally in the middle of a war. But like,
Yeah.
I think for their own mentality, they kind of needed to like pull pranks and
To cope.
do dumb stuff. Yeah, do dumb stuff and like be teenagers and stuff. Because like they did need to cope.
Yeah.
And
Like coping mechanism, kind of.
yeah.
Oh, but one thing that I was kind of confused about is because how it's in the war is in the trenches, right?
Mhm.
But then in the book it also talks about how they're also in the cafeteria and there's also a hospital. So I was just like curious, because from the research they're in the trenches for like so long.
Yeah.
But in the book they're also at a cafeteria and
Mhm.
well Hilmestrasse is at a bar and then they're at the hospital. So how do they get out of the trenches without getting killed? Because I feel like, do they just have like some off time where they're not fighting,
I
or are
think
they
so.
just
They do,
constantly
they
like
do.
sniped?
Well, whenever he's talking about like the like
It's like they
cafeteria or
have-
like whenever Himmeltoss was like kind of punishing them back then and stuff, like with the guys that would wet their beds and stuff. I think that was at their training
Yeah.
time.
It's at their training time,
That
but
was
I think
before
they
they were at the
also
trenches.
have like, I think the
They take
time
turns.
they take turns. Yeah, like
That's kind of funny.
I know it's like
so polite.
yeah, it's like almost like play dirty almost like just go there and like attack them at their like base camp and
Mhm.
then you win the war. But like
You can't get to the base camp because they have defenses.
oh they do.
Oh, the no man's
And
land.
there's always gonna be people in the trenches.
Yeah.
yeah
So you just have to escape.
Oh,
You
yeah,
don't
yeah.
get to let anybody get
yeah
back.
yeah that makes sense.
Somebody repeat what you said. 'cause there's
I don't remember what he said.
Do you wanna come say it to the?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think actually that they could get back without being attacked. And they can't attack the base camps because there's always going to be people in the trenches, like protecting the side. So I think you just have to retreat quickly, silently, and like just so you don't get shot. Because I think even when people were like leaving, they probably they could get sniped. So like they just
Yeah.
had to be really careful. I don't think there's any off times or anything.
Yeah.
So they'd like kind of crawl out without.
I mean, maybe because in the book their camp was like 3 miles behind the front, so they would have to go 3 miles, and then
Yeah.
so then there's people on the front protecting the camps that are a bit back, because then they can't be hit by the mortar shells or anything because they're too far away.
Yeah. Like I was saying in the book, they had to drive out in those trucks to get to the front
Yeah.
whenever they did their first mission thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's review the book now. So, what would you guys rate the book on a scale of 1 to 10?
Like a 6.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 6.
I would say either 6 or like 5.5. I mean, it's a good book. It's just not my
Type of book.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
I,
it's
it's
like
not my
it's
favorite
well
genre.
written, but like
It's really
not
well
what I would pick to read.
Also,
I liked
reading for school is hard for me.
Yeah.
I think if I was trying to read it, I think I did try to read it in 8th grade actually when I was in America, but I didn't finish because it was too boring to me.
Oh.
But I think now if I tried to read it by myself and like actually could get into it, I think it would be a good book to
I
read.
feel like, oh sorry, it kind of reminds me of Pride and Prejudice, because it's like, it's like it's so good and well written, but it's so hard to
I
get
know.
into. But the story, it's good, but it's also kind of boring. But people is like Pride and Prejudice is the stuff,
Yeah.
And this is kind of like, I feel like it's kind of the Pride and Prejudice of war novels, because they say it's the best war novel of all time.
Yeah.
But it's still a bit hard to get through if you're not
Yeah.
really like that into it.
Yeah.
I would give it like an 8 or 9. Honestly, I thought it was good.
Yeah. I think
I mean, some parts were a little boring whenever they're just kind of like doing nothing at the camp
Yeah.
or something.
I think I need to read it again for myself because I did not like focus at all. Like I don't really remember. I don't remember that much about it because it's hard to read books that are like it's hard to read books like that for class because it's like an assignment, so you're like trying to get through it to like get the assignments
Yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Or sometimes when we had to like write down the stuff in our packets, it kind
Yeah.
of like when you're like very focused.
It
with the
ruined
book,
the like
and then you just have to stop to
Yeah.
write it down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just didn't do that until like the end.
yeah.
And I don't really
I would
like
enjoy it.
spacing out my reading. Whenever I read, I just
Yeah. I
read,
just-
Yeah.
But then whenever you do it for school, you have to space it out, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's getting good, and then you have to stop. It's
It's
like,
annoying.
yeah.
I mean, some people like I know Jada and me have done this before. We'll just read the entire book.
Yeah, Emit's done that.
I think a lot of people have done that, where you just read the entire book.
Because then you just don't have to really worry
Yeah.
about like reading
And
it
I feel like you can
pulling
enjoy it
out.
more.
You can enjoy it a lot more, yeah.
Yeah.
But then sometimes when you're talking about like certain chapters, you kind of lose track of like where certain things like are in each
Yeah.
chapter when like doing class discussions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's pros and cons to reading it all in
Yeah.
one go, but yeah.
Let's talk about the themes of the book.
Yes. So why do you think that there is so much death? This question doesn't really make sense, but why do you think there's so much death in this book and in war? I mean, like, you're using guns. Like, I think in this book they had to portray death so much because it's supposed to be an accurate war novel. And so it's like you can't sugarcoat it. So that's why this book displays so much death.
And especially coming from a person who was in the war, they actually experienced all that death and just all that.
like they literally
chaos.
had to watch their friends get killed. And like I mean, I bet this guy was like never the same again. Like he probably had PTSD after this. Like I mean, who wouldn't? If you can come out of the war without any PTSD, like I don't think you're
anyone
human.
has ever done
I think
that.
some people do if they're just.
Don't care.
Is it just not
I
I
doing
mean,
mean,
no,
anything,
what
or
I'm
like
like
to
saying, like
some
with
level.
wars,
Well, like
Yeah.
sure.
like because you can go
You're,
go
like,
and get
somewhat affected.
go to like
at
training
least.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's people that have to do that for their
Huh.
country, and they don't come back with any PTSD because they didn't actually have
Well,
to like
yeah,
fight.
yeah.
But I mean, think about like the soldiers that are in Israel right now. Like they're probably not gonna come away. Like they've seen so much horror and like death. Like I don't know how someone could come away from that war and like not be traumatized, you know? Or just any war in general.
And you just have to like
And especially,
move on, right?
yeah. Well, but then especially if your friends are dying
Yeah.
and you can't save them.
And like you don't really have time to process it either cuz you're
Yeah.
like I have to survive myself.
Yeah.
And I just watched my friend die and like and wars go on for so long. It's like you can't it's just terrifying. Like I can't even imagine having to go to war. Like I would die immediately probably.
Yeah.
But
24 hours.
24 hours I would be dead. Honestly though, yeah. I
Yeah.
could not.
So, what do you think about the doctor who did experiments on soldiers with flat feet?
Oh, this. I mean, we kind of talked about this in class earlier. It was just like this. The doctor was just doing like random surgeries that weren't as important on soldiers, while there were others that needed to actually like be healed from urgent things, while this doctor was just performing like random surgeries that weren't urgent at all on patients. So I don't know. It's just kind of necessary.
Well, can I have the mic here? So, well, in war, they don't focus on the most urgent care. So, like in hospitals, they always focus on the person who needs the most care. But in war, they always treat the most treatable, the people who will survive, because they can't waste resources on trying to save someone who's really badly injured, because they could save someone who's less injured, and then they'll have more manpower. So they have different priorities in the military hospitals.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah. Especially because it's like, I mean, the people that are dying, they just have to like suffer and like not get treatment, if I'm understanding correctly. But like, yeah.
Oh yeah, in the novel, they're just kind of waiting for them to die because they need
Yeah.
more beds, and soldiers
Yeah,
are like
yeah.
on the ground and everywhere, and they need the beds, and
And
so
The
yeah.
one guy that died because of the amputated leg, like, they were like kind of just waiting for him to die, and then they were like, oh, who gets the boots? Like,
Who gets
even
the
while he was
boots?
still alive.
Yeah, and
even
those
while
were
he
his
was-
friends.
Yeah, and it's like, I couldn't imagine being, like, having to do that. Like, if one of my friends was dying, and I'm like, oh, I wonder who gets their boots.
I mean, they need the boots
yeah,
nice
that's true.
boots.
That's true.
Yeah.
for the war. So they're just thinking,
They're thinking
What's-
ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're moving on
I mean, I understand
from
it.
death instead of,
I think it's kind of like they're trying to avoid thinking about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
So they're thinking ahead and just like,
thinking more practical than
Yeah.
emotionally.
because the more you think about it, the more you're gonna linger, and it's gonna just not be good.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's probably healthy to mourn sometimes, but I
Yeah.
guess because they're having to mourn like so many people, it's like it's better to just
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
And I mean, I also feel like that's why it feels hard to get close to people. I feel like it would be hard to get close to people in the war, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like, and I mean, this guy, Paul Baumer, he was close to a lot of people.
Like they were already close before
yeah.
going into the war.
Yeah, that's what's hard. Is
Well, I feel like it would be easier to get close to people because you're going through this same
Yeah.
like traumatic experiences
feels-
as them.
it feels easy, but then whenever,
But just so many of them would be dying, it'd just be hard
yeah.
Mhm.
to want to keep getting close to people.
Like I feel like after like 2 or 3 of my friends would die, I would be like, I can't be close to these people because they're just gonna die. Like, I mean, maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't actually think about it that much in
Mhm.
war, but
Yeah.
like thinking about it right now. Sorry.
Yeah. I feel like for me, I'd probably continue to make friends because it'd be so lonely if you were just like at war and alone and just like, oh, fight, fight, fight. But if you have some like time to just talk to people
Yeah.
and just like de-stress, it'll be a bit healthy.
And that's what they did in the book. but just they didn't take their debts as like as emotionally because they didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So instead, they still made friends, but they just didn't like I don't know, mourn their deaths as much.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big themes in this book is comradeship and camaraderie.
Mhm.
Those. So it's like mentioned a lot. Oh, wait, what was I gonna say? Oh, where is it?
It's after nationalism and political power.
Oh. Oh yeah, it was like with Paul's relationship with his soldier friends. Because being with people in like a hard time kind of makes it better. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's
Help.
There's people going through the same stuff as you,
Yeah.
so it's kind of comforting to know
Mhm.
that you're not alone.
Like shared trauma.
Yeah.
Like shared trauma. I think, yeah, I get what you're saying. Because I mean, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna be friends with anyone. But like, honestly, I think, like, personally, I'm a very like relationship-oriented person.
Me too.
And I think, like, even without trying, I would probably be close with a lot of people in
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But,
Mhm.
which would make it very hard to watch them die. And it's like, and it really sucks at the end of the book because it's like we don't get any like. I mean, they all just die. Like we
That's
don't
the
get.
reality of a war,
I
though.
know it sucks, but it's like that felt it sucks. War sucks.
Bro.
That
War
sounds-
sucks, man.
That sounds like I'm making it a lot. What am I saying? Yeah. Anyways, I'm rambling. Yeah.
Yeah.
But having friends help when you're in hard times.
Yeah.
So apparently there's a trilogy actually, and there's a sequel called The Road Back, and then a third, like, sort of unrelated book called The Three Comrades. So they follow other characters who do talk about the characters from All Quiet on the Western Front, and one of the characters, Jaden, stars in both of the books. So
Oh, so Jaden was still alive?
apparently. So, do you guys think you would read it?
I thought everyone died.
I know, me too.
But I guess not Jaden.
He had some shrapnel in his head.
Yeah,
And
and
how's
he got.
he
Yeah.
But how is he in the book?
Is it? But it says it's a sequel, which means
Yeah,
it's
which means
after
it's,
the.
yeah.
Maybe it's a
I wonder.
prequel?
It's a guy with the same name. No, I
A
wonder.
different Jaden, spelled with a T at the beginning.
Yeah.
To
I wonder.
Jaden.
I kind of want to see. I kind of want to read the trilogy now
Mm.
because I want to see. I'd have to read the first book again first. But then I'd want to read the trilogy and like see.
Yeah.
It's probably not as good as the first one because.
But I feel like sometimes it's better. It really
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah.
So this book was actually banned in Germany, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was published in what? Yeah,
They found it offensive.
found it offensive to Germans in the war and stuff. So it was published in 1928, 11 years before World War II. And it was one of the books that was banned under
It was burned as well.
under Nazi Germany.
Yeah. But it wasn't just Nazi Germany because other European countries like Austria, Czechoslovakia, and Italy also banned the book.
Oh yeah. Because of the anti-war themes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It kind of feels, I don't know. Like it feels weird to ban. I guess I kind of get it, because it's like, oh,
Going
they could
against-
revolt.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like. Yeah.
War is not good.
Well, because it really showed that, like, the book, I feel like one of the main themes was that, like, the soldiers weren't actually fighting for something that they believed in. They were just doing it because they were told to do it.
Yeah.
And so it could lead people to, like, not want to fight in the war because just because the government's telling them to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
And they would
Mhm.
actually probably, like, I don't know, revolt or things, but
It's kind of hard though, because it's like they banned it like 11 years after it was already published, so it's like
People probably got
people probably
access
already
to
read it,
already.
yeah. But I mean, I get it why they would burn it,
Mhm.
but it's
Yeah.
banned books are interesting.
We have some fun questions. Some not so fun questions. How would you die if you were at war?
Right, very fun.
Very fun. Okay.
I don't know. I just thought of this because it's like we had an assignment and it's like if you would survive or not survive during war. And so I was just thinking like there's so many ways you could die, like being shot or like being bombed or
There's
like, gas poisoning or just starvation
rats
and like
even, like,
fatigue. Yeah.
yeah.
And the rats in the trenches. So it's just like based on how you personally act and live, it's
Yeah.
could be different.
Honestly, they would probably just kill me because I talk too much. I'd be too annoying, like at the.
I'm saying like your own friends would
Yeah.
kill you or something.
No, I'm saying like, cause like I talk to myself all the time, and I feel like if we were in the
You'd go
trenches,
crazy.
They would just think you're crazy.
they probably would.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Just leave it.
Everyone already thinks I'm
everyone was.
crazy.
No, everyone in the trenches was crazy anyway, so it probably
Yeah,
wouldn't.
I mean that picture of the shell-shocked soldier, that picture is so scary.
I've never seen it.
It's creepy. You want to see it?
Yeah.
He's just like
Oh,
in.
you haven't seen it yet?
No.
Have you?
He's just
Yeah,
in the
I saw
trenches and
it.
he's just like smiling.
It's
like
terrifying.
creepy smiling.
Oh, this one?
Because
The
he's just
editors
like.
can probably
he's
edit
just-
the
Yeah.
pictures, right?
Huh.
That is not what he looked like, Savvy.
Oh my goodness.
It's freaky.
There's another.
There's a bunch of shell shock photos.
How does that? What
You
is
should
that?
say-
How
okay.
does that
Get
work?
pictures
Shell
like
shock.
when you're like
Yeah.
Shell shocked
During war.
soldier.
Shell
Are
shock.
shells,
Advice.
are shells like bombs? And then are they like poisonous because of the gas?
I think it's
Shell
just they're
shock
stunned.
soldiers.
There's so much bombing that you're just.
I think they're just stunned from like
Oh.
all the explosions,
I mean, that's
all
what
the
they called PTSD
chaos.
before. Pretty, you actually look like him right now.
because they didn't really have like the term for PTSD
Yeah,
back then.
is what they called PTSD
Yeah.
before.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we are out of time now, so.
We have time.
Yep.
We still have time.
Oh. I think we're being told to wrap it up though. So,
That's right.
like and subscribe.
And thanks for
listening. Hope you enjoyed. Please, subscribe so that you get notified when we post a new video.
Yeah. me
Go
and Sam
follow
will
our
be-
Instagram.
Hit that
Yeah.
pass breaks.
Oh yeah, what is it?
Ezra wants to get
Pass breaks.
past. Oh,
Oh yeah, we need to get more subscribers than the
Oh,
Critics
yeah, we need to-
account. So that's about 200 subscribers. About,
Yeah.
right?
Help us beat Cricks in our. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for listening. See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.